There you are. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Let me
So
turn
we
the camera
finally are on.
on.
That's
Okay.
better, Eleanor. You were
Hi.
sideways. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Okay, everybody, thank you for your patience. So I'm here with the lovely Eleanor Schrader this morning. Eleanor, it's so much fun to be here with you today. Eleanor is the distinguished instructor at UCLA with the Architecture and Interior Design program there. And I met you, Eleanor, I guess a couple years ago through our mutual friend Gary Gibson, and have been privileged to lecture at your classes. So that's been a real thrill for me. And anyway, so it's great to have you here. And the tables are a little turned now that we can sit here and chat out of the classroom.
Oh, Mark, you know how much I adore you. And I looked for years for you. I was looking for somebody who could give me a capstone course for my fundamental students at UCLA. And you just popped into my life. And I thank Gary Gibson and Rocky LaFleur for bringing you to me. For 20 years, I looked for you, and you are just perfect. You're the perfect fellow gentleman. You give the best capstone course. And so I'm the lucky one here.
Well, thank you. That's really sweet. So I can also see why your clients are so enamored with you because you've got a great personality. You're always positive, and you're the kind of educator that everybody dreams about.
Thank you. Thank you.
What did you do to start your day today?
Oh gosh, everybody seems to think I've got this really glamorous life, but I put on my glitter makeup. I told my pool boy what I want for lunch, and then I cleaned the cat box one scoop at a time like everybody else does.
So, um, as the head of design at UCLA, how do you continually inspire your students, especially now? We're in a very difficult time. You can't have classes. So how are you going about this?
Well, I appreciate the accolade. I'm not the head of the department,
Okay.
but I teach the fundamentals class and I teach the history classes. And I love this Zoom stuff. I have had so many doors open up. I've had other schools ask me to come teach. And this is working so well for the students. They don't have to drive any place. We have wonderful guest speakers such as Timothy Corrigan and Gary Gibson and Rocky LaFleur and you and so many others, Anthony Poon, just to name a few, who are so helpful and so positive to all of the students. And I've seen a lot of positiveness that I think a lot of people have been holed up in their houses so long that they think now I need an interior designer to fix this and this, and I know I do. So we have interaction in the classes. Say issues, but when we first started doing online classes many years ago, they were all pre-recorded, and I just think that's so boring. This way we can talk just the way that you and I are talking right now and have interaction with the students. So I think it's just been a really good positive situation.
Well, that's good. I know that we have an upcoming lecture in which Gary and I will be speaking
Yeah.
to one of your classes in a week or two, and that's going to be an online class. So it's great that this can continue. And are you finding that most of your students are signing on?
Absolutely. Well, I take roll at the end of each session too. So anybody who seems to think that they're not going to have to listen, they're going to be wrong. They're going to have to go, through the whole class. But you know what? Everybody is so excited about all the various speakers we have that I think maybe only one or two will leave the class a little bit early. And those are not the dedicated ones anyway. So I've got a really good dedicated group. I usually have about 80 students in each class, and they always send wonderful messages to the various people who have spoken. They thank people profusely. So they're really lovely.
Yeah, the response is very positive. It's great to see It's great to be with people that want to learn and educate themselves, and it's thrilling to be able to contribute. So, you know, I know that you personally have a passion for classicism. And we're currently in an age of sort of modernism for the last 10, 20 years. So can we discuss for a minute the importance of studying all periods of design and why that's important? And I
Absolutely.
know that's a subject that touches you greatly.
It does, because every day I speak to designers like you, and they always say, Eleanor, are you teaching them this? Are you teaching them that about something from history, whether it be a Philippe Starck chair that comes from a Louis the 16th chair, or whether it is how to identify what Rococo or Art Deco is. And so sometimes students might grumble a little bit. It's like, oh, I don't want to take history. I want to be a contemporary designer. And then, as you have done so eloquently in my classes, you make them understand the importance of knowing their history as they become contemporary designers. And so I thank you profusely for that.
Well, you know, I was going to ask you what classes you thought might be the most beneficial for students. And I think back on my education, um, but that was quite some time ago. But there were two or three classes that I took that at the time I didn't give them, um, I think, enough credit, and they were very influential on my career. And one of them was the history of antique furniture. And I had no interest because when I was young and starting out, I was interested in modern design. And I really knew nothing about whether it was Queen Anne or Louis the 15th, any of the. So I had a great instructor. And all of a sudden, I started learning all these things that I had seen. I would learn what a Jacobean table was, you know, what a Régence chair was, and all the, you know, I learned about the Louis. And I
Yeah.
thought, well, this is interesting, but I'm never going to use this. And, you know, here I am 40, 50 years later, and I use this knowledge every
Yeah.
day.
Absolutely.
And it was so exciting to learn, and I had such a great instructor that was very motivating. And so it became a passion of mine as I began to travel and I began to see things and run across pieces like this. I wanted to know more, so I studied it. And as I say, it's been very beneficial to me.
Yes.
So I think it's important that somebody covers all aspects of design and they don't get trapped in one area,
Right.
because you never know what you're going to be called on to do.
Right. Yes.
And
And Mark, you mentioned something really important, and that is to travel. That is the best thing that you can do as a designer or as a budding designer.
uh-huh.
Travel. I know we can't right now, but this is where you've honed your knowledge so well and understand how to work with your clients, because you have that kind of knowledge, and clients are becoming incredibly educated nowadays. And I don't want any of my beautiful students to go out and have a blank look on their face when somebody says, I'd like to do an Art Deco interior.
Right.
So I'd love to
Yeah.
hear. Oh, go ahead.
One of the things that I know I always tell the students is when you're young and starting out, you don't have the money and you don't have the wherewithal to be able to travel around the world. And but you do have the ability today, like we're doing today, to access things on the computer.
Yeah.
And I have been just bombarded daily with um, uh, information, and I can go on any museum website. I
Yeah.
can do museum tours. I'm sure you're getting them too, aren't you?
Oh, a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's great. I just got one 2 days ago from the Broad Museum downtown LA to do a virtual tour. And I got something a couple weeks ago from Sotheby's, and I'm not exactly sure why they had it on their website, but they were taking us through 5 museums in New York. And
Yes.
2 of them I wasn't familiar with.
Yes.
So it was a great way. Now, it's always great to see the stuff in person, let's face it. But it was great to be able to tour these and see places that I am currently not able to go.
Right.
And at the same time, I remember on a recent trip to New York, I was going through the Met, and what a great museum that is. That's so thrilling. And I was on a limited time because I had, I think, 2 hours before I had to leave for the airport. And in a matter of 2 hours, I traveled from Cambodia to Russia to the Ukraine to South America to the Americas to Indonesia. I went all around the world, going from room to room, looking at artifacts, paintings, all these. And it was so inspiring and so uplifting. And so you don't necessarily need to travel. I noticed recently I've been watching YouTube videos,
Yes.
and you can plug in. I was just in Italy a few months ago, and I plugged in Positano, and I plugged in Capri and Herculaneum. And you have all these videos and tours that are really beautifully done. And it's just like you're walking the streets of Pompeii when it takes you through it. It's very exciting.
Yes.
So you can educate yourself, you can expose yourself to a wealth of information just by exploring. And since we're all sitting home and a little bit bored at times, this is a great time to do this. Inspire yourself.
Absolutely. I have been spending so much time on these museum sites and looking through, and I constantly tell the people who are on my Facebook page or my group tours to look at this. We can't go visit there right now, but look at this. There's so much you can learn just by viewing online. And so, we've got lots of resources to look. And then once we are out of here, then we can see again in the round in real life what we had been viewing all this time. So, and I know a lot of people are getting really frustrated and lonely. I know I have a lot of older students, and I know this is very difficult for them. And so I've been staying in touch with all of them. I've been doing some Sunday night lectures on various art movements and having a wonderful time with that. So, it's important for all of us to stay in contact and then to then emerge as new butterflies.
Right. That's a very interesting thing. I noticed in your classes when I speaking that I was kind of shocked at the uh, age range for your students. I guess I automatically assumed everybody was in their late teens or 20s.
No.
And they range from people in their teens to people in their 50s and 60s who are perhaps looking for a change of life or a
Yeah.
change of career. And so it's great to see people who are exploring this profession especially.
Exactly. And that's the way Jody Greenwald set it up when she founded the program in the early
Uh-huh.
was it was meant to be a second or sometimes even third career for people.
Right.
And we've maintained that connection with people from all levels. I've had them from early 20s through late 60s, and you never stop learning. I feel like I know about 10% of what I'd like to know, and I keep taking classes from other people as well. So it feeds our souls and it keeps us young, and I think that's the key, where we stay bright and alert well into our hundreds.
Yeah, it is. And that's why education is such a noble profession. I don't think educators really get the credit that is due them, um, because it's the savior for many people who don't have opportunity, and
Right.
education is so important, and we can't ever stop learning.
Right.
So, what classes do you think that are important to your students? What do you encourage them to study? Or
Well, at UCLA, we've got a whole program, and I'm not an interior designer, I'm a historian. And so, of course, my favorites are that they take the history classes, but then, we have a whole master's program for them to go through with Cal Poly Pomona. And so, of course, they need to take their drawing and drafting and their studio courses, etc. So we've set it up so that you are fully prepared to enter the world. And also we have so many wonderful designers and architects who come to our students and our job board. And we've got a lot of part-time jobs that are offered, and scholarships, and you know, people to come in and learn, and people have been so generous to the students. So, you know, sometimes they find what they need through a few classes, but we encourage them to do the whole master's degree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I know one of the things that I encourage them also are to make sure that they take the proper business classes.
Yes.
Because as I say to them, you can be the greatest talent in the world, and
Yes.
if you don't know how to run a business, manage money, you're never going to be a success. So those classes those are important in any field, not just interior design.
I'm laughing a little bit because, you know, I used to be a forensic accountant. And
Oh, okay.
so that is near and dear to my heart, that people know how to run a business and to not be embezzled from. Uh,
Right.
so you're absolutely right about that.
Yeah. So one of your many accomplishments is that you created the LA Art and Architecture Tour.
Yes.
And I think it's one of the most exciting annual events here in Los Angeles. And I know lots of people look forward to this all the time. So can you tell us a little bit about the program, how you started it? And by the way, you know, I've never asked you, how did you begin your association with UCLA?
Well, hopefully, to make a long story short, my then husband at the time and I were remodeling our house. We had a English Tudor revival house, and we were putting on a second story. And I had a wonderful friend, or you know, still my friend, Rochelle Beratucci, an interior designer, uh, come and decorate. And as the wrecking ball was about to come down on a couple of walls, there was what I did not know at the time was a gorgeous bachelor fireplace. And I said, well, let's save that fireplace. It's kind of interesting. And I know I drove Rochelle crazy with all of my questions. I was so interested in everything she was doing. And we'd go to the PDC and I go, I like that. I like that. She goes, no, you can't have that. That's neoclassical. No, you can't have that. How do you know all this stuff? And I think I drove her crazy because she said, Eleanor, why don't you take some classes? So that's what I did at UCLA and studied under Jody Greenwald. And then at the time, her husband, Maurizio Beratucci, was head of the art department at Santa Monica College, where I was teaching accounting. And he said, Eleanor, why don't you come to our department and teach art history? So I went and got another master's degree at Sotheby's in London and started teaching at Santa Monica College. And then my beloved friend Jeff Daniels was looking for an art history, interior design instructor to kind of follow after Jody Greenwald. And he hired me, and God love him. You know, 25 years later, this is how I got connected with UCLA. And then I want people so much to travel with me, whether it's to Europe or whether it's just to go see places like the Stahl House or to go to Bullock's Wilshire with me. Uh,
Right.
and so I started LA Architecture and Art Tours.
Uh-huh.
Oh my gosh, I've got about 10,000 people who are that I will advertise a tour, and bam, it's gone in 45 seconds. So
Yeah, 10,000 of your greatest fans. So didn't you just have a recent trip to Falling Waters?
yes, and I'm hoping to have another one this coming fall. It's already almost full. People are very optimistic about it. We may be moving it off a couple of months, but yeah, that's always fills up very quickly as Falling Water.
And
And
how do people sign up for this?
you know, if you just email me or Google me, you can find me. I have a meetup group, LA Architecture and Art Tours. Um, you know, I'm here on Instagram, Eleanor.Schrader. Uh, I mean, you can find me. So, yeah, or my email, Eleanor Schrader at roadrunner.com. And
Hmm.
I'd love to have everybody join me.
So do you have any favorite homes or that have been on your tours? Is there anything that stands out in your mind?
I think my favorite is the Sheets Goldstein House by John Lautner. As a member of the board of directors of John Lautner, I've been very fortunate to have students who are able to view it quite often. Jim Goldstein, the owner, is very dedicated to education, and he's very generous about letting us visit his house. I think the stall house also, although I'm more of a traditionalist, I'm
You are.
not,
I'm
not
a
a
little
modern
shocked to hear
girl.
that because I
I
know you don't, your passion is not contemporary design.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
And but it's if there's contemporary design that is well done, then it's a joy. And my joy is to see people go, ooh and ah, I've always wanted to visit this place. And that's what makes me happy, is to have this kind of access that people can come visit with me. That's my joy. Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
So, with the current situation in the world right now and all the challenges facing us, um, do you advocate a career in design as passionately as ever?
I think so. There's so many routes that people can go down, even if they don't become an interior designer, which is what happened with me. I realized I was not going to become an interior designer, but I love the history side of it. So that has been my career. Claudia Rebar, a very well known set decorator, comes to lecture. Students go into set design, they go into real estate. Brett Parsons comes to talk. They go into flipping houses. So there's a lot of careers that you can have with this background in design.
Uh-huh.
So I'm just as passionate as ever about it. I know all the people I talk to, like you, are, as passionate. And so I certainly advocate them doing that. And everybody needs good design, even if you don't become a famous designer, just to help others with your knowledge. Our student ASID group, they do a lot of outreach. They have redecorated the Amanda Foundation, which is a spay and neuter organization, and uh, adopting animals. They have worked with a homeless women's group downtown.
Uh-huh.
So, there's lots of things that you can do to donate your time as well, having a knowledge of good design.
Yeah. So this is interesting. People that are watching us, there's little comments coming up and questions, and somebody has asked this question 3 times now. What is your feeling of the Frank Gehry house on Adelaide and Santa Monica? And I don't know if you're familiar with the
Yes.
house that.
It opened up a lot of conversations, and I do show this in my class and
Mhm,
explain the reason why it happened at that time of doing something different, and of the movement of deconstructionism. And
mhm,
it's a perfect example to use of early Gary's work, and then to see how he transitioned into what some will call his neo-Baroque work, or what we're more familiar with, such as the downtown Walt Disney Concert Hall. So yeah, it's part of the whole conversation. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been watching that house develop because I've been working on a project just across the street from there. And the great thing about this profession is that whether you like that or not, it's not particularly my taste.
No.
I'm a bit of a classicist myself. But the great thing about this profession is that we are privileged to work with so many different people in so many different genres. We're currently working on a modern residence. We're working on classical residence. We're working on a historical restoration in Nantucket. And I think that's what makes it's what makes our work so exciting, is
Yeah.
that we have a variety. There's always something out there for everybody, and it's really thrilling. So for students that are studying through you, people that are interested in design, it's really a very exciting profession. Not only do you get to be creative, you get to meet very exciting, wonderful people, great relationships. So
And Mark, I mean, you've had such an amazing career. I mean, I know you design yachts and airplanes, and I want to hear a little bit more about how you came to that echelon of design.
well, it was a long road, Eleanor. So, as I said, when I started off, I never dreamt that I'd be doing what I am today. So, and I have very loyal clientels. I've been fortunate to build a body of people that I've been working with for some of them 40 or 50 years. And it's been very exciting. And I just feel honored to be able to create things and do things that enrich people's lives. So
That's the important part.
yeah.
Yeah.
And, I think, I used to think when at one point that this was a very frivolous career. We're making houses pretty, and there are other people that are solving world problems or working with cures for disease and so forth. But I remember getting a call from a client once after I'd completed the project, and they said, you've changed our lives. Our family is now having dinner at the table. All the kids' friends want to be at the house. They all come over here and hang out. They love the house. All our kids are in their rooms with their friends. And she said, we never were together. And
Yeah.
she said, I didn't realize how important having the home function
Yeah.
is to the family. And we're seeing that today, because this is a perfect example. We're
Yes.
all home, we're all operating out of our homes, and we're all going, I need to freshen this up. I
Yes.
need to make this more livable. I need to make this more attractive. So
Yes.
it's, I feel honored to be in this profession.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
you are making the world better. Designers are making the world better. They make a livable place. It's not, as you know, fluffing pillows. It is making things ADA compliant. It is making things comfortable for people. And I mean, this is what so many of our historical messages were all about: egalitarianism in design, such as the Bauhaus, and creating this beauty all around us.
Yeah, and it's interesting because when we look back at history, if you look at archaeology, we're studying history
Yeah.
by studying artifacts and things of the period.
Yeah.
And that's what we have to judge what was happening at that time of life.
Yeah.
So we're studying vessels that they find, costumes, fabrics, vessels that they use to cook. So what we're currently doing at some point will become historical.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just saw a really good comment, and doing it right so it lasts. Absolutely. I think we're seeing so much temporary design, and one of our purposes in the program is to disavow people of the knowledge that it's going to be design on a dime, or I should say more of like house flippers or something like that, that sometimes sometimes they've seen too much HGTV when they come into my class.
Yeah.
And it does not happen overnight.
Right.
And no, not everything can come from IKEA. And
Right.
so,
Well, that's just that can happen, but there's another dimension to
yes,
design other than that. So
absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you can decorate with IKEA and it can be done well. It might not necessarily last, but a good
right,
designer will bring in all levels of design into an appropriate design then. Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Somebody just commented, Rome wasn't built in a day. It's very
Exactly.
true.
Exactly.
Anyway, it's so great talking with you, Eleanor. You're just so fascinating and you're so inspiring. You're like a breath of sunshine, and
Oh,
I see why
oh,
the students adore you, and it's why I love speaking at your classes. You're a real treasure. So thank you for doing this with me this morning. So
you're a
I know that you don't just work during the day, but you take your work home with you, much like I do. So what are you going to do the rest of the day?
Put together my Sunday class. This weekend we're speaking about Frida Kahlo.
That's exciting.
Yeah, so it's going to be ongoing. And so that, this, a last thought, this is my joy. I get to research beautiful things all day, and then I get to go talk about them. I mean, how much better can my life get? And I've met the best people in the design field. I adore you, all of my friends in the design field. It's just a wonderful, welcoming group of people. So
great. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Mwah.
Well, thank you, Eleanor. I really appreciate you taking the time, and thank you everybody for watching this.
Yeah.
I hope you enjoyed it.
All right.
And have a wonderful weekend, Eleanor.
You too, Mark.
All right. Goodbye.
Bye.